There is some irony to the idea that Skyfoxes could be dealing with a tremendous threat from the sky, but the other part in talking with Team Envy when I had a chance over the week is that they also mentioned that Tailspin has been playing a very, very good Tracer as of late. McGravy was pretty proud about saying it's like, hey, he's not just a Pharah, his Tracer play is good too, and it makes sense if you know Tailspin's history. He used to be known for his hit-scan play in games prior to Overwatch, so he is someone who can flex to both roles.
And that's a lot coming in from McGravy because he used to be a DPS main, he used to be a Tracer main, and so now here we are. He's on D.Va, Tailspin's coming on in. He's not going to be on the Pharah, but it's going to be the Tracer along with the Widowmaker for Team Envy as they take on Skyfoxes.
Of course, Skyfoxes not without their own top, but Buds immediately finds Jur, and that just like that, Envy's going to go, by the way, hello, goodbye, please leave us to the point. But to take a moment to talk about Skyfoxes, Boostio is, by many people's estimation, a very good up-and-coming talent on the hit scan end. And Hedan, you want to talk about veterans? Well, he's the hero of Overwatch Open going back to last year, one of the original support superstars.
Yeah, this is a very mixed bag in terms of experiences coming out from Skyfoxes. Some people just coming fresh off the ladder like Ace of Spades, but Jer is also a name that we're a little bit familiar with here. But already, as Skyfoxes are trying to go on to the point, it's Tailspin with this Tracer just keeping them at bay.
Crimzo punishing Fire even as Buds goes down, so that's going to work out to be a net benefit to Envy here. They still have a full 6 Buds with no one to check him right now. But most of the fight is taking place at the point as Tailspin continues warping around here on Tracer, has the Pulse Bomb ready, and Skyfox is, again, not really going for the long fight here, going for the immediate reset.
And I like how Tailspin is playing this. I mean, you saw, you don't have to constantly play that backline Tracer. You could just sit in the front line and just make sure that your Pulse Pistols are just doing massive amounts of damage onto the tanks, and they're not able to stay onto the point. They have to back away, and then that's when you change it up. Buds giving us shades of what he was doing at the tail end of last season on this Widowmaker.
Buds, pound for pound, in my opinion, was the best Widowmaker in NA Contenders last season. Yes, he had some games where he didn't show up, but when he did, he was big. But now, Boostio removes him with the Pulse Bomb. Tailspin, what do you have? Oh, Tailspin, you have Hedan's orbs directly to your face. But Buds is back up into play here, trying to get Far, and he's not gonna do it. Far takes him down, and with the play from Skyfoxes here, they should be able to retake the point. Too much damage has been dealt to Envy.
Yeah, Boostio even chasing down that Mercy. We'll go ahead and recall to help them get rid of McGravy here on this D.Va. Once they do, they might be able to flip it. Yeah, it doesn't look like Envy's going to try and go in for any more stall, but they did their damage, 80% here. But during all that time, during that hold, they only really committed 2 ultimates into that, as they have 4 coming in for the retake.
The ult economy is super good for Envy right now. Multiple ways that they can go back in here. I mean, the easiest, of course, just they have Transcendence. They can trade out Transcendences and then just let iShiny go to town with the Primal Rage and Tailspin look for the pickoff. But Tailspin, for now, diving to the backline, ideally forcing out the Transcendence, which he does. Goes for the stick. Did he land it? Not quite. But Bud's got Jur in the interim. Now Envy can secure the team fight with a Transcendence of their own, and that's what happens when you force out the Transcendence so early.
And that was just beautiful focus coming out from Envy, right? So you have Shiny along with Tailspin both jumping onto Jer there, and then Jer finally gets finished off by Buds, but he was forced into the awkward position where Buds was able to get him. And so with that, Envy slowly going to clean up the members of Skyfoxes, and they're going to take on up. It's going to be one last fight for Skyfoxes to try and keep this point alive.
Meanwhile, Bud's about to have a recon site up here. Gets to survey the territory, and he's been very good at the early pickoffs. It's been about a 50% success rate getting either Hedan or Jur early on, so this is something that Skyfoxes get slowed down by.
Now they're going to go ahead and take the inside approach again, try to avoid that bridge, but Boostio's in the back with that Tracer. He's on top of Buds, who gets dropped down low, but his Crimzo started all off.
Buds got away and all that, which meant that Boostio wasn't doing anything, and the rest of Team Envy just cleaned up the team fight in a straight advantage, and this is decisive. Envy easily taking it to the Skyfoxes, the former Karasuno. Round 1 is theirs, and it wasn't really close.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the difference in styles of the Tracer was pretty pronounced because Tailspin wasn't going for that backline while Boostio was. And like you had mentioned, he wasn't able to take out Buds. There were a few moments during the map where he was, but the way Team Envy was playing, it was great. You had, of course, your tanks in the front line. You have your supports actually sandwiched in between the DPS line, which was Buds all the way in the back. So, Fire, he could swap between healing up Shiny and swapping back to Buds. And that's why Boostio wasn't able to get as much done.
And beyond that too, I mean, you think about the engages coming in from the Skyfoxes, is that because Buds wasn't able to be neutralized, they had to be way slower and just way more respectful because Buds was popping to support every other team fight.
Now here we go as we load up onto Night Market. It's going to be more of the same Tracers along with Widowmakers for both sides here. Mirror matchup as the teams just meet up here in the restaurant portion of the map. Crimzo, oh man, he is such a deadly Zenyatta, already taking out Ace of Spades.
Ace of Spades went too far forward, pure and simple, punished immediately, and Team Envy getting really deep into the territory of the Skyfoxes right now. Skyfoxes going, wait, is that our spawn point? Yes, it is. Envy, though, might want to consider throwing a few people onto the point, which they do.
Yeah, they lose Shiny, they back away, point unlocks, they're going to go ahead and cap it first, just like they did on Garden. Now, Skyfoxes, the map here is a little bit different, right? The flanking routes, it's a bit easier for Boostio with this Tracer. He's got 3 separate avenues to try and make his approach from, but Crimzo's playing this super safe, way far back.
Meanwhile, Crimzo, as mentioned, he's far back. You see the rest of Envy kind of split up right now. Tracer play being used very aggressively, and Tailspin gets what he's looking for. Not only gets a Pulse Bomb kill, but gets out in return in this very spread out Envy team. Yes, it means that they're going to be able to bring up Ace of Spades because they don't have a consistent pressure there, but the res is off cooldown, and Envy, they're just going to use the Valkyrie, move on forward, and they take this fight indoors. Tailspin doesn't care, dives on deep, ends up re-1ing out, and actually, I think Envy went a little bit too deep because Skyfox has got 2 kills in the interim. They can start pushing it back the other way, but they don't deny the resurrection, and Envy now actually can start fighting this back. Pulse Bomb out, doesn't connect, and Tailspin and the Tracer v Tracer on the back.
Shiny's primals have been so good. Now self-destruct will be thrown into this by Gru. It doesn't connect on anything. That allows McGrady to get the Pilot Diva gone. And even though Team Envious had lost people early on because of where they took that fight, basically at the Skyfoxes base, even though they had lost members, they could still, you know, buy the time to try and reinforce themselves. And so by the time the fight takes place onto the point, it's basically equal once again.
Envy, firm control right now, 73%. Skyfoxes, they're gonna make a move. They need to do it now. They have a Transcendence advantage. And Ace of Spades had the Primal Rage so early there. Ideally, they would have wanted to engage with the Transcendence. They don't do that. It's a bit of a mess here so far, but Boostio blowing up Buds. This is an opportunity if they can deny the res. And Fire, he went for it and got slammed.
That's a great way to deny it with Boostio, just his own follow-up now on this Tracer. He is becoming a real threat for Team Envy, but still, Envy are sitting pretty now. As they're at 99% overtime ticking away, they will flip it. So they can just bide their time, build up their ultimates, which they're getting up to really closely. Now, Crimzo only 2% away from his trance. Fire will have that Valkyrie up for his team. And then Shiny, who has been really good with his Primal Rages so far, is only 27% off.
The problem for the Skyfoxes is that they have to play way more methodical than they have. Every ultimate has to be used properly. They have to get big edge and economy. It also means that Hedan has to have a good Transcend to start this out. Now, Envy, they're taking it slow here because, frankly, they can.
And they're going to slowly take the inside track here, actually wrapping around towards the spawn, try to get the flank here. They actually just walk up to the flank and walk up to Jer and take him out. Shiny shouldn't be allowed to do that.
No, and Jer's been going down early in a lot of these fights as Buds and Shiny open it wide up. Yeah, Buds is down, but Boostio can't secure the kill onto Fire. Buds is going to get brought back up, and Shiny and Tailspin just wantonly rushing in to Skyfox territory. They're going to retake the point, and I don't think anyone here is up and ready to delay this for much longer. Winston actually does get there in time, but doesn't have a whole lot of help. Immediately moved down. Sad times here for the supports that have to rush in, but this is on a whim and a prayer now for the Skyfoxes, as they're just going to get cleaned up.
They almost take out Crimzo, which would have been a consolation kill at the best, but still now as overtime ticks away, all of Team Envy are here in force. Shiny will not be budged as he comes back on in. Primal Rage will be used by Ace of Spades to try and buy time. That allows Far to come in, get the kill onto Shiny, but still, Tailspin's alive, and when you have a Tracer just on point, she's able to melt them all down. Envy, no problem whatsoever, takes the 2-0. They gets their first map victory of the season.
Yeah, Envy back in Contenders and get the quick 2-0 over the obviously former Karasuno, now Skyfoxes. Signs of life, though, from Skyfoxes. I do want to call that out. Boostio getting some critical picks there, as we just saw, was able to at least make it competitive, it felt like, which is good to see. Obviously, this is a team coming from the Contenders Trials program.
Bustio was definitely looking good, but overall, Envy was just outplaying on almost every conceivable level in the game. And certainly one thing that hurt was that we saw it a little bit in the previous series where Goliath was having trouble staying alive. Well, the support that was having trouble staying alive here was Jer, where Jer was basically trying to dodge Buds first round, not super successfully, and I think that was more Buds than really on him. But even in the last round, he was getting focused really heavily, and Envy just superior engages that gave them just easy win conditions over and over again.
I mean, on Night Market, that just should not have happened. Shiny just goes through the corridors, walks through, and walks right behind Mercy and takes out Jer. Like, you're not supposed to be able to do that. You're supposed to at least leap onto them, but instead he just walks her down.
I mean, we're talking about some trying to highlight some of the high points of what Skyfoxes did right there, but sure, when you're in a situation where it's mirror compositions, it's very easy to see which team is playing better.
Yeah.
And certainly Envy looking very dominant. And again, Envy, former Envision team, really the major change, they're short of Jaru at the moment, but otherwise this is most of that core that went to the top 4 in NA in Season 1.
Yeah, it is a drastic difference in experience, too, amongst the players. Like I had mentioned, I mean, you know, some of these are just ladder players, people that I've seen playing ranked for the last 10 seasons, making their first real go at going competitive. So Ace of Spades you got coming out, a lot of these names you just don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, Skyfoxes, look, they're a team that they were able to battle through a lot of trials and tribulations in their times as Karasuno to get through and make it into Contenders where, I mean, you think back to even events like the Overwatch Beat Invitational, they had their ups and downs, right, where that was kind of the heyday of the GOATs, but they've adapted. I know they have a very good coaching staff behind them, and they have young, unpolished talent to a degree, but they're almost going against a lot of old guard people in Envy right now, not only Envision veterans, but you think about Buds and Tailspin, they were teammates together on games going back to like 2013. So there's some old school camaraderie in play here.
Yeah, and that's obviously only map 1. There's certainly a lot more series we played out. I guess what I like to see is, in the past, we have seen maybe trials teams that emerge, and it's not, there's really no signs of life. It's just a brutal thrashing. So I did like that with Skyfoxes. We do see a team that's taking on an established, already proven team, and they are at least getting some results. Next up is going to be Eichenwald. Again, this is the loser pick, so Skyfoxes has selected this map.
Well, like right now, I just feel for Skyfoxes that Widow Tracer combination might not be their best look. I want to see some Hanzos and see how they fare when that happens. And so there's still a lot more to explore with this team.
I am pretty vexed that they brought this Eichenwald here, where this is a map that can be very good for Pharah on the first 2 points. It is a map that certainly has room for Widows to go crazy. Given what we know for Team Envy and their strengths, where yes, Tailspin was on Tracer for most of the last map, is Eichenwald the place to bring this to right now? I'm not super convinced.
I think it kind of comes up to, again, when you pick a map, there's a general expectation, an assumption that you are going to be good at that map. You've practiced it a lot. So if you're forced into a situation where you practice something and you feel confident on it and maybe your opponent is good at it, I think you still have to go to it as opposed to maybe something you feel less comfortable on. But I understand your concerns.
No, you're totally right. But on the same note, they also knew that they were going against this team into this week. So just... we'll see how it goes, I suppose.
I don't know. Maybe like they just feel more comfortable over it than Kings Row, where Kings Row, if you're going up against a team that has a lot of experience together, maybe you don't really want to take them there because everyone knows how to play Kings Row really well.
I was going to say, both maps kind of feel scary when you consider what's good on those maps and what Envy actually has in terms of personnel. Buds is someone who would horrify me on either of these maps, but we're going to hop in. Can Skyfoxes equalize, or will Envy get a 2-0 advantage?
I am so happy right now. I mean, like I said, this hits all my nostalgia bones in my body where get to see Tailspin on Pharah again. And look, I mean, he really was one of the original heroes of the character. So I'm curious to see what goes on here. I know sometimes you take a track down nostalgia lane and it's never quite as you remember it, but I want to believe right now.
Now, they are going to take a pretty traditional defense here. Will Team Envy, as they've got Shiny, of course, on that main tank. But the change-up is that they're going triple tank here. Solo support on the defense with Fire. Going to be that solo support as that Mercy.
So a lot of this, to your point, I mean, it's going to be a little bit tanky, but it is going to rely on Pharah on the back. And Tailspin in general is not too defensive of Pharah. He will be aggressive when he sees opportunities, or at least that's how he played in the past. Meanwhile, Skyfox, of course, running a Pharah of their own, and Bustio can be looking to snipe Tailspin out of the skies.
Luckily, Bustio has to back away. Never mind, Jer getting tagged by that halt and headshot. Well, not headshot, but halt and just Widowmaker shot combination there. So Skyfoxes already have just dwindled 40 seconds away. It's Team Envy, yeah, that's the aggression you're talking about coming out from Tailspin. He's just peeking over to the spawn there, trying to get some rockets down.
But he's been so smart about when he peeks, because we've been looking from the other point of view on the Boostio, who's on the Widowmaker, and he never even got a chance. He's actually going the Tracer now, so Tailspin gets the run of everything.
Yeah, it's a full dive composition coming out from Skyfoxes, and why not? Because there's only one support. That means Buds will fall. Fire might be able to get the res, but no, Shiny has fallen itself, and Skyfoxes instantly changing the pace of the game.
Old school dive coming back into place. It's going to be up to Crimzo and Tail to try and stem this tide. Envy in a rough spot, but Tailspin deals with Ace Spades on their side. Shakes the pressure in from far. Still getting supported by Fire. And Envy, who lost 2 players early on, actually has a good chance of bringing this back. They're battered, but they're not broken here. And that whole hog from Crimzo deals with Guru in the back as Buds comes back in on the other side. Envy looking to hold, and that transcendence from Hedan is questionable.
Yeah, they were already losing this fight here. There's really no tank line to even try to keep alive. And so now with that gone, he's gonna have another 2 minutes to try and build it up. Luckily for the Skyfoxes, they did secure 2 ticks in that. And now they're gonna have some ultimates coming online with nothing really to answer it. Far getting close to that blade. Possibly if Buds just hits a headshot onto him as he comes on in.
Well, instead, Bud's going to get on the Hedan early, and here's the problem for Skyfoxes. I think it was a great swap when they went to Super Dive, but the element of surprise is gone, and Envy has already made the proper adjustments, holding way further back.
And they're not going to be as stationary, right? They were able to just jump on top of Buds beforehand. McGravy Shiny himself has swapped off from that Orisa going over that Winston, so they're going to be able to deal a little bit better with Far now if they jump on in once again.
Tailspin, though, is on a nice flanking route right now. Has the barrage all set up, drops the barrage, but sacrifices his life to get Guru. That is not entirely worth. Far, meanwhile, with the blade, gets whole hogged back. But the Skyfoxes have firm control of the point right now. They only need a little bit more to go for. Even though Crimzo's still around, he's going to be taken down, and the Skyfoxes get their point, and we'll see where this payload goes.
That was an interesting turn of events because, okay, so Tailspin goes for the barrage. Guru self-destructs and throws the mech straight at him, and somehow Tailspin still gets the kill onto Guru, but the mech keeps going. He dies to his own barrage, this Tailspin. The mech keeps going beyond that and actually catches someone else out. You don't see that every day.
No, and this is a swap that you see a little bit more often, but certainly not every day, is that you see Tailspin now going to the Brigitte, so they're going to be going with something that's a little bit more tanky, a little bit more healy, so to speak, and it's putting a lot of pressure on Buds to be the main person to still get pickoffs. Envy, though, going to take the fight directly to payload, drops it down, Buds gets Far again. Buds, scarily consistent here so far.
And he's going to have all the space to work with, right? He does have the Winston and the Diva for the counter dive if people try to get on top of him. Of course, he has his cooldowns, but he's also got Tailspin on that Brigitte who can play that peel with all the CC that she does have available to her. And so Buds, who's already scary without having to need as much support, getting this much support is absolutely nuts.
Yeah, and you see there, he gets a glancing shot from Widow to your point and then immediately goes, okay, yeah, I'm healed up. This is fine. Just looking at the window right now, gonna pop the recon sight, and Far is basically fighting an obstacle course. Almost gets better at Buds, and does. Buds should have given him a moment to heal up. Buds out of the fight, at least until the res comes in. An opportunity, but McGravy slams the door, gets both snipers out of the fight. Buds is back up, and Envy gets away with one.
You could also hear Tailspin there with that whip, just making sure that Boostio wasn't able to get away from that self-destruct. He tried to use, of course, his lunge, but he was just getting batted around by that rocket flail. And so, great heads-up play coming up from Tailspin. He's already, becoming a huge boon to this envious squad.
In general, Tailspin's just a very cerebral player where there's a lot of focus on his aim, but truthfully, he just gets himself in good positions over and over again, just from his wealth of experience. Skyfoxes now, though, taking the initiative, moving on forward. Boostio on the high ground, drops on down. Ace of Spades, a little bit far out, ends up out of it, but it does create the opportunity for Fire to go down. The lifeline for Envy is gone, and this is Skyfox's best opportunity here. Let's see what Far does.
He was able to tag down McGravy, who was in pilot form. Guru finishes him off, and so now Skyfoxes will be afforded some lenience here. They can start to push forward the payload, but their clock has been dwindled down. They are down to a minute. We'll see. As we come up onto this bridge portion of the map, Envy have to be careful, try to fight there, because Ace of Spades does have that primal, and he has the opportunity to try and get... Oh, never mind. McGravy's already there, taking out Boostio.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to use the primal now. In fact, you really don't want to use it now. You're down both your snipers. Even if a res happens, it's not. Tailspin right there to deny it. And they were trying to pay the payload and see if they could sneak one in, but that's not going to happen. Envy gets to fully reset in a better position.
Down to possibly the final fight here. Skyfoxes, after that stagger onto Guru, are down and left with 25 seconds, but they have a lot of ultimates online. Still, it's going to be a mad dash. Never mind. They have a little bit of a lenience here to come in.
Well, Bud's lost his mulligan. If he gets plunked in the head one more time, that's going to be it. So we'll see if Skyfoxes can take advantage. And oh, here comes the Dragon Strike. A sneaky positioning. The Dragon comes from below, and Envy almost lost Crimzo, but they're still fine.
Now they are off the point, and the payload is moving forward. No one's actually made it over there. Finally, someone contests, but McGravy with a great self-destruct.
Both mercies are done. There will be no reses, but Envy in a way better spot. Crimzo just moves on in, gonna neutralize anything that Ace of Spades is trying to go for here. Not in a good spot to actually knock anyone off. McGravy gonna deal with it. Boost back on in. They're gonna deal with the Winston as Buds cleans up on the outskirts. Envy stops them from storming the castle.
And Skyfoxes just really weren't able to punish some of the kills that they were getting, right? They weren't able to convert on to Bud. They allow the resurrection to come off. The threat is still there once again. And Tailspin is just constantly in the back line. Skyfoxes just had no clue how to deal with this Brigitte, I feel like.
The Brigitte swap was very, very good. I mean, the end of the story there is that Skyfoxes, they were getting some success by diving on in. Suddenly, Envy goes, oh, you're diving on in. Why don't we mix in a Brigitte? And it's just like, we don't really know how to handle this here. And Envy showing a good deal of depth to their hero pools here, and Tailspin kind of one of the ones leading that charge.
Yeah, I mean, initially that swap-off was to really deal with that Genji that came out from the Skyfoxes. And then they swapped back off of it, and Tailspin was like, I'm fine here, guys. And the Brigitte really did pay off for them. It just allowed and afforded them a level of control in team fights that the Skyfoxes really didn't know how to deal with. Like, Ace of Spades jumps in, and he's getting completely controlled by that rocket whip.
And the other problem here, too, that Skyfoxes had pretty much the entire time is that Wildfire did have some decent moments towards the end of dealing with Buds. Overall, the Widow battle was pretty harshly stacked towards Team Envy, where Buds was getting more key pickoffs in more crucial situations, and it just continually wrecked whatever momentum Skyfoxes were able to get, where, look, there's a difference between, hi, I got a pickoff and you're not able to res it, versus, well, you beat me in the Widow v Widow, but it doesn't matter because our Mercy is right there for the res. So the timing of some of these pickoffs absolutely matters as well.
And it looked like Skyfoxes had a decent idea of how they wanted to approach this map, but, you know, scrimmages and actual play online in tournaments go completely different now. And so Envy on the offense, we'll see. It looks like they might come out of the gates with the Orisa along with that Hog. So it's going to be a slow approach on in. Allow Tailspin just to get some damage off. Buds, maybe if Tailspin can get some good rocket damage or a Conch Blast out from behind that shield, we'll be able to land them.
This takes a lot of chutzpah coming out from Tailspin here, where he's just like, yeah, you're running Widow, but I don't care. And Boostio so far wasn't able to punish that very aggressive posturing coming out from Envy, and Envy just kind of taking space here. They're able to move to the left. Tailspin took a bit of a chunk, doesn't quite go down yet, and Envy overall very damaged right now. Far's been landing some good rockets, but Ace of Spades is too far out, and Bud strikes, finishes off Jura as soon as he's away from the shield. Tailspin is laying in all sorts of damage from the right-hand side, 50%, but Boostio strikes back, picks up 2 on the other end. The problem is, I don't know if it's gonna be enough, even as he picks up 3.
It's Boostio versus the world right now, literally, as he's the only one left onto the point. He has to back away. Now 2 ticks come in for Envy. Skyfoxes might be able to recontest, and especially with Boostio getting that pick onto fire.
The problem is that I wonder if this has just made it look appetizing enough to go in, but not enough to actually take it back. Boostio's doing all sorts of great work right now. And with Shiny being down, I do wonder if that's enough. It's enough to entice the Skyfoxes to come on in, but it quickly turns against them. It's raining from Tailspin. He takes down 3, and Tailspin will put this over the top as Envy takes the point.
I mean, we were definitely left in limbo there because before that fight had ended, or quasi-ended there, Boostio had taken out 3 members. And so with that final pick onto the 4th member in Fire, it looked really enticing. So Ace of Spades goes in, Guru is back with the Diva, but they didn't convert onto the rest of the kills there, allowing Envy to reinforce.
Tailspin's gonna swap to Brigitte here, and I think it's because A, the indoor areas can work pretty well for Brigitte, and B, is that this is tough to engage with on far and second if you're going into a Widow. So Envy's kind of looking to be more ground and pound.
Now Boostio versus Buds. Tail is all the time, but it's Heon that goes ahead and comes in and changes that up. Boostio taking out Crimzone now. That's going to be, of course, him gone as a Resurrection comes on out, but Buds is making that Resurrection worth for his team.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you take down Buds, it's like, well, it doesn't matter because there's going to be a res there unless you finish your plate. Envy, it's a slog right now. They've lost several players. Skyfox was doing a good job of contesting them, but they haven't put them down just yet as Buds gets Boostio. Now he's going to be free to go up and high. Tailspin takes a trip down into the moat, and they've stopped payload progress here. Skyfoxes are investing everything, including the Primal Rage, to try and halt this, but even losing Tailspin to the Void, Envy's still in this. McGravy has been a rock on the payload, good solid hooks and damage all the way, and now Envy is going to get the progress they're looking for. Skyfoxes have to reset.
Yeah, and they're going to have some great ultimates, especially as we move on to this bridge portion of Eichenwald here. McGravy, he has, of course, that whole hog he can use. It could just displace the entirety of Skyfoxes. They have to be careful. They're coming on out. It's a triple tank for them.
And they're so close. That payload almost there. Jur going down first again. A last desperation dragon here from far, and actually does move Envy quite a bit off the payload. But there's the hook. Guru takes a trip into the drink, and now Envy looking to push on through. No one can actually get rid of McGravy here from the looks of it, but with Crimzo falling, that actually is going to make Envy reconsider how hard they want to go for this.
They're going to go ahead and commit the supercharger in, and that's going to allow McGravy to actually have the damage with the damage boost from the Mercy to actually take out Ace of Spades. And so here we go, Whole Hog coming on in. He's sweeping them to the side as they charge forward. It takes out Boostio.
McGravy's a beast. He's unleashed, goes on even deeper, takes down another. McGravy's killed 4 people in this fight so far. He's not stopping, and neither is the payload. Envy taking down the Skyfoxes here in Eichenwald, and you know, we were talking a lot about the DPS, but McGravy was remarkably solid there.
Yeah, he went whole hog, and then Envy went the whole distance. Not a whole lot to say there. Once, Jamerson, as you pointed out, once the bongo came down, it was go time. And I like what Skyfoxes did there, as they realized Ace of Spades went down. Okay, we don't have a Reinhardt. We can't just sit here. They tried to go in and get some kind of counter engage going. Didn't quite work out. But I think thus far, I like what Skyfoxes is trying to do. They're very much showing that if they can get this coordinated, they could make this a competitive series.
It's the only play, right, that they had left to them. But the problem is that you're also running into a Tailspin who's gone that Brigitte and has the extra control, and I think that kind of might be the crux of what's happening to Skyfoxes right now. They don't know how to play against that. Throughout Eichenwald, Tailspin was just absolutely handling most of the majority of that roster in different parts of the map.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a problem when you look to the sky and you're just like, wait, this Pharah is actually going to be doing all sorts of damage, where it wasn't, I think, his old style where he would just really super heavily engage, but he was measured. And you look to the final attack there, right, where on point A, where the defense was streaming back in, he just got himself very high up, waited a long while for the barrage, but when he finally dropped it, he ends up getting 3 kills. It was just very smart stuff, and almost a testament to the multiple threats we're seeing from this Envy squad.
So, ZP, sometimes when you watch old movies, you know, they don't compare to kind of where they were in your memory. Obviously, you were excited about the return of Tailspin. How is this serving your nostalgia goggles?
It's extremely good. I mean, the only thing that could be even better is if the Ernest series of movies came back with the original actor, who he's passed away, but if that could somehow come back, that would be incredible.
I've had the opportunity to be on the desk now. This is the 2nd time with ZP, and I always feel like I have like a sort of handle on where he's going, and then occasionally it's just like, here's an Ernest reference. So, earnestly, I was not sure where we were going, but I'm glad we got there.
Did it scare you stupid?
I was... I think that would be playing into this joke a little too much. I'm not going to do it. But as we see there, Far also having a couple of standout moments, and that really sums it up for me. I think everything they do when it's kind of just open skirmish time, it feels like they know what they're doing, right? They're playing to their individual strengths. They're kind of all over the place, but that's where they're excelling. It's when things are a little bit more constructed and things are a little bit more composed, where you can see that Envy really does just have the edge as a team that's played together for a longer time and has more professional play experience.
Yeah, I mean, once the dive comes out, I mean, that is kind of like the bread and butter of like a lot of these lower tier teams that are on the up and up. But when you're able to control the tempo and allow your team to just slowly take their time for Buds to connect with his shots, Tailspin, instead of, going for the flashy plays on the far, swapping off over to the Brigitte just to offer more control for his team, just really slow down the pace. And it looks like, Skyfoxes just don't know how to play at that pace, which is kind of what happens, right? In Contenders, we were used to a lot of dive, while in OWL, we're used to a lot more slower play. And it just feels like Envy have the grasp on that slower play.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw multiple styles come out from them, and also just to highlight the individual side, Buds was not playing at this level in every single match last season, where he would have games where it'd almost be like he took off. There was nothing off about Buds here tonight, where he was a ridiculous threat all the way through, and even when Skyfoxes would seem like, okay, we have something good going, it's like, well, Buds is taking down Jer. Resets. And that happened over and over again.
Yeah, extremely consistent from Buds this game, but Skyfoxes are going to have a few minutes to kind of talk it over, see what they can do differently. But guys, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we will conclude this series. And of course, obviously, we have Toronto Esports taking on bye week after that. So lots more great Contenders North America action coming your way.